Hi, welcome to Entertain This, a podcast about movies, TV shows, and video games. My name is Hayden. With me, I have Mitch.
Hello.
And special guest, Kerry Frances. How you doing?
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. So, I have seen you in I've seen you in Knives Out. I've seen you in Poker Face. I love that show. And you got another Knives Out movie coming out. So that's where our audience might recognize you from. But more importantly, we always ask all of our guests, how did you get into the business?
Yeah, definitely. And thanks so much for saying you love Poker Face and Knives Out movie. It's so exciting to hear. Same. I got in as a child. I just desperately wanted to be on the TV. I would sit and cry while I watched TV when kids were on it because I didn't understand how they were in the TV and I was not. And I've been singing since before I could speak, and it just made a lot of sense to my mom's eyes to say, let's have you move toward theater. We were really close to New York City, so I would go in and out for cattle calls and do community theater and sing at different sporting events and things as a child. And that just continued from there. I very much became known as the girl who sings. You know, I sang the national anthem at every single thing you could think of in my high school in New Jersey. So a lot of singing. And then right out of school, I booked a big Broadway tour, and that took me around North America and really catapulted me into having this career.
Did you ever mess up the national anthem?
No.
And was this before YouTube? I would assume that. Yeah, I would have absolutely messed up, and I would have been all over YouTube.
No, I definitely have messed up songs before. I remember one really bad, like voice recital. I was doing like a performing arts school half the week, and I don't know what happened, but I could not remember the words to this song. And funnily enough, that was the same show. The song was from Fiddler on the Roof, and that was the show that I booked that Broadway tour for. That changed my whole life. So we came full circle. We redeemed ourselves.
Yeah, but like having that trauma, did you do your first, try again for the actual play? What did you do to remember the words this next time?
I've never had a problem except that one isolated incident. I have no idea what it was. Yeah, so I have an incredible memory. I can look at copy for an audition and have it memorized in like 10 minutes.
Really?
I have a really amazing memory. So I'm still not sure.
Wow, that's impressive. Okay, so that you fancy yourself more of a singer at heart, or do you are you a jack of all trades? Would you consider yourself?
I'm very much an actress and a singer. I would say that's the best way to describe it. And then I'm really lucky that I also now have a whole career writing, producing, directing, optioning books. That side of the career has really boomed open in the last 2 years.
Yeah, that sounds like a jack of all trades.
A jack of all trades. But, the acting and the singing, they just have my heart, and it's what I feel called to do. And, if someone were to say, hey, you can either have this amazing role in this movie or you could direct this movie, I would take the role, right? So I always come back to that and ask myself, because I think at some point that just changed for a lot of actors where they realize, you know what, I like the control and the power that being behind the camera gives me, and I like creating my own work. And all of that is true. I enjoy it. But I think for a lot of talent, they get to a point where they realize, I actually don't want to act anymore. I don't want to be public facing anymore. And I would like that more and more and more and more. So that's really been informative to me.
So since you've done Broadway and acting like behind the camera, not behind the camera, but in front of the camera, which one, I guess, would you say is the more difficult to do?
I actually think it's more difficult just slightly to do musical theater, Broadway, because you're doing 8 shows a week, right? So in general, you have to keep your body, no matter what. Like being an actor to me is like being an athlete. We have to keep our bodies, our minds, our health, our voices, everything really, really well conditioned so that we can perform any moment's notice, right? There's no real day off in terms of as I'm losing my voice from all these interviews, I'm saying this, but there's really there's no time where you can really just say, you know what, I'm going to take 2 weeks off and lounge about and not move my body. Because what if on day 15 you get a call that could change your whole life, right? You want to stay prepared and ready for the environment. But I think doing musical theater, you're using every instrument of your body. You're really it's your voice, it's your body, it's your mind, it's your physicality. It's often you're running around. So you get the endurance and the ability to have your breath control. And I don't think either is hard as in like, gut-wrenchingly hard compared to all sorts of things people have to do in the world. But yeah, it definitely takes a lot out of you to do 8 shows a week. You really have to just kind of become a hermit and pass on a lot of the fun events and the fun things and just go home and steam your voice.
So is it like a light switch? I know enough of the film world to kind of visualize, and I've done some projects where it all makes sense to me, but musical theater, I don't know how you just don't stop thinking about it. Like you have to turn your brain off at some point, don't you?
As in, you mean like don't stop thinking about the show like 24 hours a day, or don't stop thinking about doing the show?
It would be, if I knew that I had to be on a stage in front of people talking like 6 months from now, that would be all I could think about.
I don't know how to explain it. It just has always felt unbelievably natural for me to either be on a stage or on a set or in a sound booth. I'm more uncomfortable. Like if I knew I had to go to a wedding in 6 months, I would be panicked about that for 6 months. Like the volume of people and, is this going to be like a good time, a not good time? Is it, if I knew I had to, I don't know, do something like really hard in life, I would maybe think about that. But when it comes to this stuff, I just feel completely normal to be doing it. And
is it like exposure therapy? I mean, I guess like some people just aren't afraid of crowds, but like for me, like, I don't know. For people over time, I would assume beginning out, everybody would be a little terrified to be in front of a crowd. And then over time, I guess you just get used to it or something.
I think if you start doing it as a child, it just becomes ingrained in those brain groups that we all create, right? Mm-hmm. We're all at all times, like if we think from a neuroplasticity angle, like you're creating your brain and what you're able to tolerate and not tolerate from a very small age, especially when you're little. The brain is so flexible, right? As an adult, it's a lot harder to create those new brain grooves. Yeah. I'm sure you assumed we would be obviously talking about neuroplasticity on this entertainment podcast today.
No, hey, I'm all about it.
But I think mindset has so much to do with this career, right? And so whatever you believe you are, right? So if we speak limitations over ourselves all the time, or we decide we can't do certain things, then that's something that affects us and the people around us, versus if you decide you're going to do something and you really embody that feeling, it just happens, right? Yeah. I used to visualize the exact life I'm living right now. I mean, the exact life. Like it is creepy sometimes when I see. Yeah. So I think in terms of crowds, obviously, like, would I be nervous 6 months out? No. Would I be nervous 6 hours out? Yeah, of course. Okay. I would be a little panicky. I would be a little like, but I can call on my experience, history, and my tools, right? I would know what to do to calm myself down, regulate my nervous system, go over my material, all while doing some kind of like hair and makeup. And then I think also because I played kids and teenagers, right? I'm very tiny. You can't see my full height right now, but I am a delicious 5 feet tall. So that means I played children and teenagers for a lot of my theater career. Really? And I actually still have never played over 18 professionally, which is nuts. So I think that also really helps because you call out that inner child. Like if your job is to run around and skip on stage and sing songs and act like a little kid, that gives you a different kind of confidence than, if you're maybe doing the most dramatic role of your life, then you have to get out there and bare your soul to these people. So I think that helps as well.
That's fair. Yeah, you could probably get away with being a goofy kid. As opposed to, but I couldn't. My knees would buckle on this.
I just have to be an old man.
Yeah, I couldn't hop and skip if I tried. So, but wow. So, one more question about theater work. If you're what's the typical? How many days for one play? I can't. Like how long? You said 8 times a week. So how many weeks?
For doing a show?
Yeah.
Like the length of the run of a show, right, it really would vary, depend on what it is. So, one show I did off-Broadway, I originated the lead in this show called Delirium's Daughters. Mm-hmm. And we did it for like 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. And then it was popular enough that they brought it back later that year. And we did it again for like 2-3 months.
Oh, wow.
The Fiddler tour was 2 years.
Wow. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when is the best time to go see a play? Is it in the early weeks or is it towards the end of its run?
The best time to see any kind of theater is right now. That would be my answer because we need to support theater. So right now, immediately go book a ticket, pause this podcast and go book a ticket for your local Broadway tour or theater. No, I would say it's really fun to see things in previews. Yeah. I saw the very, very first invited dress rehearsal of In the Heights back in 2008. And that has stuck with me ever. It was such a special experience to watch them put it up for the very first time with an audience and previews when they're still kind of working out kinks. It's really fun. But I think once people hit the show and they get going with it, every show is a different experience. So you're not going to see a bad show. There isn't really a good or bad time.
I think the last theater show I saw it's been several years, but me and my wife, we went and saw The Lion King at the Fox Theater in Atlanta. So it was pretty good.
I saw Wicked and I actually really enjoyed it. So that was in
Is
Chicago.
That where you guys are in Atlanta?
Yes.
No, well, close. I saw mine in Chicago, but yeah, we have the Fox in Atlanta. So.
Oh, okay. That is so funny. That is the one theater I skipped on that tour. The Fox.
Well,
I took that week off. Yeah, that's so funny.
Let us know if you're coming back.
My gosh.
I'll get those tickets.
I absolutely will.
So, all right. So a lot of Rian Johnson work.
A lot of Rian Johnson work.
Is it just happenstance that it goes that way? Are you like secretly best friends with him or something?
I'm publicly best friends with him. Yeah, that's commonly known. Yeah, Rian is my ride or die for sure.
Awesome.
And Rian and I met. We're going in the right order, you guys, because on that tour, one night in Dallas, Texas, I had off, as we always have Mondays off, and usually you were traveling, and we did. We traveled to Dallas, but wherever we had come from was short enough that we had the rest of the day. And so I went to see a movie, and that movie was Brothers Bloom.
Okay.
And they were doing a little talk back with the writer, director, and producer. So Rian and Rom were in Dallas, Texas at a movie theater that happened to be within that 3-mile hotel shuttle radius. And I knew a friend of mine had loved Brick so much. He had made me watch Brick.
It's a great
obsessed
film.
with. Yes. I'm not like a Rian Johnson super fan, which is why we're so close, right? So, but this friend really was, and he was graduating college, and I thought, I'm going to go to the movies. I'll see this movie. It's going to be good, and then I'll get this guy to sign a graduation card for my friend.
Yeah.
And I did. I bounded right up to him, and I asked him to sign something, and I told him I was on tour. And as I'm sure you guys know, it's pretty fairly common knowledge that Rian loves Broadway.
Yeah.
He loves musicals.
Yeah.
You know, he's taken me to see a bunch of different shows anytime he's in town when I was living in New York. And we really have a connection through that as well. And so he came to see us when we came to LA. He came to see my tour. Yeah. And that's how it kicked off.
Wow. Just walked up and now you're friends. No way.
It's very much meant to be. Definitely a meant to be type of, when you meet people in your life, I'm sure you guys are very close. I'm sure if you have partners, you have that feeling, or when you meet your best friend, or you just meet people and you just know this person is someone that's supposed to be in my life. And that was very much Rian and my experience. It was just very much like we knew each other before we even met. So
that's great.
When I met Hayden,
really great.
When I met Hayden, he made fun of me, and then they walked out, and I've hung out with him 2 years later.
That's how it works. I didn't like him until I had to work with him.
But look, it paid off.
Yeah.
It paid off. You guys are cruising now.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned Brick. I know, it's kind of out of your wheelhouse as far as what we're talking about, but I actually studied that film in school, and I love hard-boiled detective noir films, and to see a high school aspect of that was a fun take, so.
Yeah. I think it's definitely an amazing film. Noah's become a really good friend, Noah Segan. Really anyone, obviously, that Rian is a good friend with, or his cousins, they've become part of my world as well. And I feel very lucky for that, the people that he's brought me and the stories that he tells. But I also find it really important to say the entire time that, we were friends and before we knew each other, I was working, right? I've been training and working for this my whole life.
Yeah.
And so he's been very clear with me from day one that this is not like, you're my friend, I'm going to give you some parts. I think the first time I really got it was for Knives Out. He said, this is a massive, multi-million-dollar, huge A-list cast. I don't care how much I care about you. I'm not throwing anyone in the movie. Just
That's
because
fair.
you're so talented.
That is fair.
Yeah. And we had been in and out of callbacks. I was in all the way down to the end for Star Wars. So at that point, he really knew my abilities and really trusted me. I think initially more than I even trusted myself.
Well, okay. So he said no to you a couple times, right?
Just the one.
Okay. I mean, do you mind? Like, what's that like? Business before friendship. I mean, I understand that we all respect that and can appreciate that, but that's a side of that we don't really.
What that did for me was show me that I can do this for real.
Okay.
Like I was privy to things most actors don't get, right? Most actors don't get the person who is writing and directing a Star Wars movie, who is, updating you as far as, sharing other actresses that were cut at the same level as me. And those actresses are some of my favorites. And I remember it wasn't about not getting the part. It was about my recognition of I can do this for real. Like I don't have to just keep doing theater. I can make the switch to TV film. I can compete and I'm good enough. And that was really what I got out of that. And also the way he explained it. I think a lot of times people think you don't get a part because you aren't good or you're not talented. A lot of the times it comes down to like an energy thing or who you're paired with. If you vibe with them, do you give the energy of the character that the creator of the show or movie feels that character would have? Sometimes it can be, especially in Broadway, it can be a height thing, right? Like I specifically may never play certain roles because I'm really petite, and then I will play certain roles because I'm really, so there's all of these moving pieces. I always think it's like, I've made it to the NFL and then like from that point, it's what teams am I on? And not only am I on a great team, but if you've made it to the Olympics, you've made it to the NFL, you've won. Like I've won, I've made it. I'm working. So I've never really seen rejection like a bad thing. I've just seen it like a way to realize more things about myself and my talents.
A lot of other actors have come on here and they talk about rejection like it's a good thing, just like that too. I think your fresh take on just being able to be considered for a role is a really refreshing take as well. So
yeah, it's incredible. And to your point about the friendship, at that point we were already like 6 years in, maybe. Yep. So we already had a really strong foundation, and I trust Ryan.
Yeah.
So if Ryan said to me, I've fought him on other things. I've asked for certain parts, or I've brought up, why can't I do this part? Which usually is that I'm not famous enough, which is another element of the industry, and why I'm just continuing to build more, right? Build more, work more. But I have pushed back a little bit sometimes. And what I've really learned is that, he knows what he's doing. Yeah. So I might really be able to visualize myself as something. But if he says, I really see you in this part, then I go, awesome, thank you, right? Because at the end of the day, I just want to act and I just want to keep doing stuff with him. So
yeah.
So we don't let it get, there's been times where we've had issues in our friendship, but it's not work-based.
No, I understand entirely. I've hired friends for some jobs, like all those dumb short films that I've done in the past, and it's you'll know what your friends really think about you at certain points when you work with them long enough. So
yeah, exactly. And you want your friends there, right? Like you want to walk on a set and see when I show up to set, or when I show up to a premiere, and I show up to an event, and I can look around the room and I can go, okay, there's Noah. Great. Okay, there's Nathan. Perfect. There's Zach. Like, oh, good. There's Ryan. Like, I have a sense of calm and security because there's people there that I care about who care about me.
Right.
Versus when I go to a set or I'm working on something that doesn't have anyone I know, it is a different experience. So, yeah, it's definitely a great thing to have your friends. And the more I'm in this industry, the more I am understanding the difference between a friend and like an industry friend.
Exactly.
And that's then a tough pill to swallow as well to learn, but I'm glad that I'm learning it.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier not getting a role because you weren't famous enough. And I think for some listeners that might not understand what that means is like, the fact that Brad Pitt is cast in a movie means like a guaranteed $30 million right off the bat. Right. So, if there's another actor that's interested in a role that you're up for, but their fame worth means, tens of millions of dollars or something like that, then of course it would make the logical business decision to pick that person. Nothing against that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're guaranteed seats to be filled, right?
Yeah,
so,
butts and seats.
you know, if you're putting Chris Evans in a movie, everyone who loves Chris Evans will go see that. Like, that's why it's so important to have a fan base, because they really impact what you're able to do. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, I just love acting and singing so much. I can't even explain it. And I just want to do that and tell good stories and do it with my friends. But does my producer side of my brain absolutely understand, one, when it's going to be someone more famous than me? Yeah, 100. Because guess what? When I sell my own project,
right,
I will absolutely want to put names in it, right? So I get that 100%. But I think it's also really important to not get caught up in terms of, you know, the new levels, new devils, right? So like doing press, having a publicist, all this is so exciting, but I have to keep coming back to myself and reminding myself, like, yeah, this is great. And the more star power I have, the more jobs I'll get. But don't forget that I'm really just a theater kid who loves doing so much.
Well, and any theater kid or any actor or anybody who starts in the business eventually becomes a producer in some capacity. You know, like you have to understand all these decisions made, especially if you advance in your career far enough. You have to learn to wear the other hat too. So I don't think anybody faults anybody for decisions that's best for the project. So.
Absolutely.
Well, going back to your being in Broadway, at what point did you kind of transition to behind the camera or in front of the camera, like in, I guess, the more movie or TV style kind of acting?
Yeah, I remember I was doing that play in New York in 2015. In the same time we were doing the callbacks for Star Wars. And not only was I always so much more excited for the auditions and callbacks I had going on in TV and film, I had this gnawing feeling in my gut. I'm supposed to be on camera. I'm never going to fully step away from the stage, but this is what I'm supposed to do. And I didn't really know what to do, but I would cry a lot before I would go into the theater. Like I would be on 42nd and 9th living the dream, right? And like the lead of this show, I was in the New York Times. Like it was a huge deal. And I would just be on the corner crying. Wow. And I realized that was indicative to me that I really, really wanted to be doing this other thing. And I felt, frustrated and unaligned. And it wasn't that I didn't enjoy the show or the part. I did. And I'm so grateful for all of those experiences. But I just knew I was supposed to be doing something else. Yeah, I felt like I was living someone else's dream. And so that's when that, I think, started really brewing for me.
Yeah.
And then I actually got Lyme disease. I got a bunch of like tick-borne illnesses all at once. I got bit by a tick, and that was the next year, 2016.
Are you living out in the woods or something? What happened?
Yeah, there's a big park across the street from my home in New Jersey, and I had dogs, and so we were just out there every day. And to me, that was a massive gift, right? I'm a faith-based person. To me, that was God being like, you know what, girlfriend, you got to sit down, like take a beat. You've been working since you were a child. Take a second. You're wanting to do something new. And that really allowed me to sit and kind of refresh my mind and my focus.
Yeah.
And when I came back to auditions early 2018, I went and I did a commercial audition and I booked it immediately, my very first audition back.
Okay.
Then they immediately hired me for another on-camera thing. And that just kind of dominoed. And by the end of 2018, we had filmed Knives Out. I was SAG-AFTRA. I had my first really big credit, and it was just off to the races.
Well, I mean, that's one way of turning a bad situation to a great situation. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely right, exactly. You know what? I think everything that happens to you happens for you. It just do. So I think if you can look at it from that angle and actually pause and take a minute, we just want to go all the time.
Yeah.
And I think if we like stop and rest, stop and sit and actually connect with ourselves, we're able to bounce back in a new way doing what we're more called to.
So back to Star Wars, trying out for it. Are you in some ways grateful that that wasn't your first big movie to be a part of because of how polarizing it was? The fan base for that is all over the place for Rian Johnson.
Yeah. No, I would have loved to do it. I would have absolutely loved to do it. I feel for Kelly, that was the role. And the way that what she had to deal with, I think was really awful. I did not like reading anything negative about my best friend in the world. Obviously, imagine, right? Like that's uncomfortable, but I didn't really pay too much attention to it because again, it's always been a separate thing for Ryan and I.
Yeah.
So whatever we were talking about, we were just talking about silly goose, regular life stuff. And yeah, no, I would have loved to be in it. I think it would be an honor to be part of any Star Wars because it's such an iconic series. You know, I did end up eventually getting Frank Oz in my life, right? So that's a huge...
No way. All right, you got to tell us that story.
Well, Frank and I play together in Knives. So he is the lawyer in Knives Out.
Oh, that's him. That's right.
That's Frank.
No way. Man.
Yeah.
I thought he was a lot older than that.
No. He's a spring chicken. So I was Frank's assistant, Sally. And when Ryan called me with the role, he was so excited.
Yeah.
He was bouncing off the walls. He was like, Kerry, okay, I figured out who I'm pairing you with. Like, I know who's going to play the lawyer.
Yeah.
And I was like, great. Who? And he said, Frank Oz. And I said, who's that? And he nearly lost his mind because I didn't know. I mean, of course, like now I'm like, oh, right. I grew up watching him play like Miss Piggy, right?
Yeah.
And all of those characters. But I've never seen a Star Wars. And
no. Did you audition for a role?
Yeah, of course. And that includes Ryan's. And
why not?
And that's okay.
Why not?
I don't know. You know, they hadn't appealed to me yet. I think for a long time I was just watching only like rom-coms, coming of age, you know, movies that had whatever big celebrity I had a crush on as a teenager, right? So whatever we're drawn to. And now I've really expanded. I've been watching a lot of movies in the last few, like a lot of movies. Really, obviously, as my career gets bigger, I'm at events and I work with people that I want to be able to say, oh my gosh, I loved what you did in this film, right? But I really find it beneficial that I don't idolize it, right? If I idolized Frank and I got to set on that first day, I would have been starstruck and undone. Instead, it was just like, what's up? You know, and like casual. And I think that's why I still can have a relationship with him where I actually need to email him. You know, and he's taught me a lot, and not only on set, but really about what kind of legacy do you want to leave and what kind of filmmaker do you want to be and what kind of artist do you want to be, and has asked me questions that have been really beneficial to me. So no, I'm not, I think I'll love Star Wars. I'm sure I'll love it. You know, it's incredible, but there's so many movies, there's so many TV shows. It would be impossible for us to watch absolutely everything all the time.
Yeah, but Star Wars is a staple. It's not just, it's like Americana. It's like culture. You know, when people think of American films, they think of Star Wars. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I think they also think of, you know, plenty of other films, or like if we were to say, okay, well, what Disney movies have you watched? Right? I go to Star Wars, I go to Disney now in my head.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure like you've missed iconic Disney films from eons ago that really changed the landscape of animated movies, right? Or if we were to look at musical movies, what have you guys missed that I think is unbelievable and so important to the American cinema, right? So I think there's always something in there, but yeah, I'm not a naysayer of Star Wars. I really do think I would absolutely love it. I hope to do one eventually, and I'm sure I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, why did I wait so long?
You know, it would be really interesting is a person that's our age who's never seen Star Wars to see what their take is on the best trilogy.
My wife has never seen it.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you should introduce her and you both should watch it together. See which one's the best.
I know. You know, I just did a Star Wars podcast, and a friend of mine, Travis, and I obviously mentioned that at one point, and he said, oh, we have to just sit down and do like a series on my podcast where you watch all of them. And that's something I thought about before, is
doing small doses. My daughter didn't watch Star Wars until she was like 12, and I made her watch them all at once, and she hates Star Wars because it was like force feeding her too much, you know. So
yeah, that's definitely. And you know, again, like you said, it is polarizing. People have very severe opinions on all of the Star Wars. What's the best? What's the order?
I couldn't imagine Rian Johnson. I know he's trying to change the formula, and I can respect that, but a lot of people were really upset about that. So,
and
that's not, you know, people have their. Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying, people like their cookie cutter things, like they like it certain ways, and they're not willing to change. But
yeah, and it's fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but at the end of the day, that's my friend, you know, and that's my buddy, and I'll always feel protective of him and his work. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say what you want about Rian Johnson. That dude can do a murder mystery, and you can see the bones of it in Brick and where he came from Brick to Knives Out, especially for a trilogy. I didn't think the sequel to the first Knives Out movie was going to be anywhere as good as it was. And I was quite blown away. And now I pay very close attention to these films. It's one of my favorite trilogies that are coming out. So
yeah, absolutely.
now that we're back on full circuit with that, you're actually playing a different character in the one coming out, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I played Tammy in this one.
And was the auditioning process for this different for you compared to Sally, or was it pretty much similar?
I have the incredible luxury of saying the following answer, which is that I do not audition for Ryan. So I get the part. He writes them and gives them to me.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Wow, that's a first for us. We've never had anybody come out and say that before, so that's pretty cool.
Yes, no, it's an incredible. It's along the lines of Noah Segan, Joe Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah,
and Phelps.
Yeah.
That's because he writes a character and knows you like it.
Yeah, I have a very important question to ask. Does anybody have a Samsung phone in this movie? Any of the characters?
A Samsung phone.
Yeah. Did you know in the first movie, Knives Out, that every character had an iPhone except for the killer? He had a Samsung
Interesting.
phone.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I heard.
Oh, come on.
I heard the reason was because iPhone has a clause that if you use their films on camera, it cannot be a bad character. It has to be a morally good character. And so
that's smart.
They were stuck.
If that's real, yeah.
I don't know. Ask your boy Ryan and see if that's true for me. All right. But yeah, for this movie, do you have a more screen time for it?
She's about the same. Yeah, okay. She's about the same. I think Poker Face is the biggest one so far.
That was the first episode in Poker Face.
Yeah, right? The pilot episode. Yeah. That was a really meaty, again, as much as I know I'm in consideration and cared about and thought of, he's going to write the best movie, right? Yeah. And so then it really comes down to where would I fit or what would be right for me. And in this case, it would have been very easy for him to say, we're going to just bring in a local London actor to do these smaller parts. And instead, he said, this is the part that I think would be so good. And when I read it, I knew that was going to be, I didn't assume it would be mine, but when I read it, I knew in my heart, it jumped off the page to me. And and he had given me a really great part in the second season of Poker Face. And then it conflicted with our shooting date.
No way.
So I wound up not doing an episode in 2. And he told me the whole year, we're trying to find something. We're trying to find the whole season. We're looking. And I kind of believed him. I kind of didn't, I can be a little bit of a brat sometimes, can everyone. And then we ran into Adam Alda. Yeah. Alan Alda. Adam. Yeah. Who obviously, is an executive producer. He directed a bunch of the episodes. And he and his wife were like, Kerry, we tried so hard to find it. And I thought, I've got to trust him more. Okay. Let me believe him. So yeah. Yeah, it definitely could have been, it's a small part, but she's an important part. She's important to moving the story along and moving the investigation along. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Poker Face is in a weird place right now. Yeah. What's your opinion on all that?
My opinion is I'm so glad that I've gotten to be a part of it.
Yeah.
That's my political answer.
The answer of somebody who knows something.
I'm never going to comment on how they're working, and I really love T Street. I really love ROM. Yeah. I really respect all of their work. So it's important for me to not comment ever on my personal opinions or what's going on over there, or
Yeah, I understand, and I would totally say the same thing. So. Yeah, I loved I did not think I would like Poker Face as much as I did, and I that was one of the few shows I've actually binged this year. So yeah, I don't know why. Well, I was busy last year. I couldn't watch very much TV, so this year I just saw it. Finally gave it a shot. Next thing I know, it was every episode, kind of like a Columbo mini Knives Out murder mystery per episode stuff. And I was super into it.
The one thing I will say is I believe it really reflects back how much the American public and the public in general really crave interesting, intelligent, well-written work. And I think it's very easy for studios or execs to think, we need to dumb things down, or they won't like this, or, for really, really smart. And I think over and over and over, we're seeing, right, with, let's say, Severance, Succession, all the way back to something like The West Wing, right? Really intelligent, well-written work.
Right.
At the end of the day, always rises to the top. And I do wish we had even more of that. And I'm hopeful that we'll all be able to continue making really wonderful, intelligent work.
It's got to be exhausting, though, to write a mystery, especially a TV show that's got a mystery every episode, but let alone a Knives Out murder mystery or something like that. That's so, you got to just release little pieces, little clues very carefully to the audience. And I couldn't imagine how one begins to take on that challenge. But as an actor, though, how do you suppose? I don't know. I mean, like when you get the script and you already in your real your Miss Frances brain, not your character brain, when you know what the mystery is, how do you act back? Bring yourself back to a person that doesn't quite know everything that's going on.
So you're saying that because I, as a person, Kerry, I live through the whole time he's writing it. I read maybe different versions, and then I get that final script. I know who did it.
Right.
I know the outcome. How do you then let go all of that and
just pretend like you don't
just do the scene?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I Kerry am not really there, right? So Tammy is there, and Tammy hasn't written the script, and Tammy, this is her real life. So, it literally something physically just happens in my body where I sort of go away, and that character is more present. And that might sound a little actory, but it's true. Tammy is who she is. Like, Tammy's interesting to me. She is very unbothered. She is not impressed by Benoit. Like, now everyone knows who Benoit is in the world, and I'm sure she knows exactly who he is, and she's like over him, right? So there's something interesting to me about Tammy. Like, why does she have the job she does, and what has called her to this life, and so just some of the other choices in the scenes that really inform Tammy.
Yeah.
Tammy isn't Kerry, right? I go home with Kerry every night, but I'm not going to go home with Tammy. And so I don't have any of that information as Tammy. Tammy just is thinking about what she's going to have for lunch.
No way. Okay. Do you have like a through line for that character? Like, okay, what is she going to have for lunch? That's you put every decision you make through that.
Yeah, I write a full backstory for everything I do. I do full backstories for even callbacks. The story and the character to me are the most important thing as an actor. So I wanted to know every single part. Tammy, right? Or Sally and Knives, or Michelle and Poker Face. I want to know who they are. I even had fun with one. I kind of made an idea, like if Sally had given up her life and really fled, did she become Tammy? Like a completely different.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah, and that was really fun for me to just play around with. And then, of course, I do research, right? So I went down a rabbit hole of Tammy's career and what would be involved. And you put all of that together and you just sort of know this person. And again, I think once I read that script and I had that feeling, I think this is my part. Yeah. Again, not in an assumptive way, but I just knew her. I knew her already. She made sense to me.
That's awesome.
Well, I had another question for you. Going forwards, you've got these films and TV that you've been a part of. Is there a certain genre or a certain role that you'd like to play? If it just by your choice, whatever it would be.
Yeah, I really love thick, dense text. I love really fast-paced, witty text. So anytime there's any kind of character that has that really works for me. And I'd really like to do rom-coms, really good rom-coms. I think we're missing that. I think, when we look at like a Nora Ephron and a Nancy Meyers and the iconic rom-coms of the past, we don't really have that right now. We have kind of smaller, little indie ones that go to Netflix, or we have, of course, the Hallmark Channel that I personally love.
Yeah.
But a really, really well-written rom-com, and those are the things that I'm writing. So those are both my own original projects and then books that I've optioned, all really fall in that rom-com or rom-com holiday or rom-com cozy mystery. Those types of stories to me are really interesting, but I like to play very smart characters. I think, the fact that Sally was a lawyer makes total sense to me. I think me playing lawyers, professionals, any type of person who would tell it like it is in a well-written script would be something that would be right for me. I very much feel called to do movie musicals. Okay. I'd like to revive the movie musical, which we are seeing slowly happening anyway.
Yeah.
I think to blend those two parts of my career into one feels like I am made to do that. And, in my ideal world, I'd love to do that with Ryan if that ends up being something that his schedule or his desires allow. But I think it would be unbelievable to work with Lin-Manuel Miranda, right? I think it would be incredible to work with Alan Menken or any of the upcoming, musical theater writers that we're seeing now, Peacock and Paul, the people that are really just like one person away from me because of my Broadway relationships. I think that would be something that I absolutely am supposed to do. And whether that's, let's say, doing like a Sunday in the Park with George or something that already exists, or is it writing an original? Because I also write and release music. So something in there, movie musicals are deeply important to me. And I feel like I must make them.
Yeah. Okay. You and my wife would get along very well. You basically listed off all the stuff that she's super into. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, and especially I think for women, right? Like there's the way that things are marketed as like, this is a man's movie, this is a woman's movie. It's so dumb. It really is. It does not make any sense. But I think that women deserve really amazing rom-coms like we used to see. Like I want to see a When Harry Met Sally. I want to see a You've Got Mail. The kind of rom-coms that just, because rom-com has taken on a bit of a sour taste in some people's mouths, or a bit of like a less than film. And I don't think that's true. Yeah, I think you can do a rom-com that is so smart, so well written, with unbelievable talent.
When Harry Met Sally would probably be my favorite up there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you have one? Do you have a favorite rom-com?
My favorite one it's been a while, but it was The Proposal with Ryan Reynolds and Sandra Bullock. That was my wife and I. That was our first date. We went and saw that.
Yeah.
Oh, it was? Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's like 2009.
Yeah.
What is the last good rom-com? I don't know. It's been
a great question.
It's been a minute, so I can't think of anything. So.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Right there. Right? Because if I said what's the best, most recent murder mystery, thriller, horror, historical, we would be able to right? And so that's why I think there's just been a fallout. I really loved recently, there was an interview with Reese Witherspoon who was talking about how it's affected society and how it's really changed also the landscape of dating and courtship and romance, in that like there's no reference in pop culture, and that she thinks that's why like the dating life of the current people dating has been so affected by not having these iconic rom-coms on the screen. And I thought, yes, Reese, correct. That seems right.
So what the world needs now is rom-com in the zeitgeist, and then everybody will be happier.
It's just magical. Look, yesterday I went to the New Beverly here in LA, and they were playing my favorite movie of all time, which is While You Were Sleeping, 1995. Sandra Bullock, Peter Gallagher, Bill Pullman.
I always thought that was a creepy movie. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I love it. It's like the ensemble is so good. It's just like an incredible ensemble cast, and they were playing it on film in a real theater. And I went. I canceled some things. I had rescheduled interviews. I said I have to go play hooky for the afternoon. Yeah, and it was the most special, magical experience. Like everyone in the audience was crying, laughing. Like it was just a reminder that we have to go to the movies, and we need to make movies that make people feel good, not just movies that scare people, or make them think about murder.
If you were to remake that movie today and then gender swap the characters where she was asleep and the guy was the one creeping on her, watching her sleep, it would be a horror movie.
Exactly. No, it would be. I think about this all the time. I'd love to remake this. I actually think about remaking it with a family that is not white. That's my main focus right now, is how could we make the family be a really like incredible South Asian, maybe like South Asian African-American blend, something where we could also play on like this white girl basically showing up, or something where it would be, we could bring in the talents that exist in different ethnicities that don't necessarily get the roles they deserve. Sure. So I'm working on it. I do think there's something to play in there. I find it interesting. The man who wrote that script, it was his only movie. And I'm always curious why. What happened? Did he say, okay, I've done it, I'm going home? You know?
I did not know that. So
yeah, so that's on my list to remake. Absolutely.
Speaking of making, you just made a short, Mama Mama, right? And where could listeners watch that? Is it out yet?
Yeah, it premiered at HollyShorts, which is an incredible Oscar qualifying short film festival here in LA in the summer, which is unbelievable that I not only got in, but I got in and was picked for the closing night group, which we were told was their absolute favorites of the entire festival, which blew my mind. And if you go to my Instagram or my TikTok, it's in the link in my bio.
Okay.
So people can watch it that way. And it's still playing festivals. We just played one in New Jersey where I won Best Actor of the entire festival, which was really incredible. So now it's an award-winning short as well.
Yeah. Award-winning.
Yeah.
There's so few of us out there that have award-winning shorts.
Since I've never made one, I guess I'm one of those few.
You've been a part of one. So. Mama Mama. Is that kind of in your rom-com scene, or is it something different?
It is completely different. It is a psychological thriller, essentially.
Then I'm definitely watching it, putting a star.
Yeah, you guys should watch it. I'd love to hear what you think. That's what's so interesting is I do present very Reese Witherspoon. I do present very boppy, hallmarky Christmas movies, and I love all of that. But the other half of my brain writes very psychologically, very dark, right? Why do I know so much about neuroplasticity? Why do I know so much about psychology? That side of me is very interesting. I'm very interested in family dynamics, codependency, enmeshment, right? And so I write, if I'm not in a meeting about like a Christmas rom-com, I'm in a meeting about like a really twisty,
grisly,
darker. Murder. Yeah. So it's, and people don't know what to do with me when I bounce in with my 5-foot dimpled self. Right. And they're like, well, okay. It is a story about a dissociated mom who sees her toddler where everyone else sees a dog.
Wow. Okay. You have my interest. I'm definitely going to watch it.
Yes. Yeah. And I wrote it, I directed it, I produced it, I starred in it. And that really was a snowball effect of filming Poker Face because the volume of women that were in the leadership roles at Poker Face, it was the first time I was on a set and I was like, oh my gosh, this is all women, really, and Ryan.
Yeah.
And, of course, Rom and so many incredibly talented men. But there was sister showrunners, an executive from T Street there, obviously Natasha. And they took a lot of time to teach me and pour into me. The showrunners, Lila and Nora Zuckerman, are great, wonderful people. They're doing the new Buffy reboot. They spent their day off with me, and it was really the common message was, we see something in you that reminds us of us. And that sparked something in my brain. And I had always been writing. My side job was writing, but I didn't understand I could do more than just act, because that's what I've been doing, acting and singing. Right. And so I came home from Poker Face and my dog died, and my dog was, my very much my best friend in the world and my partner in the world. And I have frequently told Ryan, like, if Ryan was a dog, he would have been Henry, or vice versa. But even, right, dogs are even more pure, right? Dogs are just the most loving, no agenda. And Henry Bear was just the love of my life. And so when those two things back to back happened, I wrote this script sometime in the next month in like a grief haze, wrote it in like a half an hour. I sent it to Noah Segan, who sent me back an email that really propelled me to move forward. And then, I got it to Ryan, and his response was also really life-changing for me. So those things all together, we shot it that fall, and it's just hit the ground running. It's changed my entire life, right? It's opened up this whole other wing of my career. My literary manager signed me just reading the script. She didn't even wait to see it. She just flew out to LA and signed me. And so that changed something in the trajectory of not only my career, but how I see myself, my confidence.
Yeah.
It's opened up a whole other door for me to see. If I email someone as an actor, they may or may not get back to me. And if they do, it might not even be nice. If I email someone as a writer, right, or a producer or a director,
really,
they'll email me right back.
That's
and
good.
It is wild. It is like a completely different.
I mean, you got Rian Johnson's ear, so everybody worth anything is going to pay attention. So.
Well, and that's the thing, right? I've been essentially raised on his set, right? So, even before we were working together, the constant stream of information and photos and updates from sets, just because, that's what you do. You talk to your friends, you share things with them. So once I got on set, you know, following him, shadowing him, being at Video Village, learning from all of these exceptional people, learning from these unbelievable A-list talents.
The best way to learn.
Yeah, it's the best way to learn. And I'm unbelievably grateful. And I'm very excited to continue doing that while also continuing to make my own projects and get those out in the world.
I went to film school, and I know so many people that would kill just to have a day of doing something like that. So that's really cool, and that you're using it properly. Yeah, you're not just like sticking to one script,
absolutely.
Make this movie, and nagging everybody. So
no, and again, like if you listen to that story, I didn't go to Ryan.
Right.
It wasn't like me running to Ryan, and I think that's why it worked so well. And I'm able to, I wrote myself a little post-it that I put on the wall that said Ryan, just Ryan on it, because I needed to remember what I've learned from him on set and how everything trickles down from the top. And all of those years were not wasted on me. It wasn't like I was just on set bopping around. I was really, really absorbing and really learning. And I don't take it lightly. I don't take this privilege and this access lightly. And you're right. I am using it in the right way. So I think that's definitely important. And I have met plenty of people who have that same reaction.
Yeah.
Like, I would sever a limb. I would this, I would that. And it's almost like, right, but I wouldn't. And that's why I'm in this position, right? Because I don't worship at the feet of Rian Johnson or Rian Johnson movies. I'm more like, where are we going to lunch?
Yeah. That's all I'm worried about. What are we having for lunch? So, and then you wanted to talk about this rom-com song.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
For Hallmark, is it?
No, this one's not for Hallmark. I do have a lot of scripts at Hallmark, so everyone cross your fingers and say your prayers, because I would love to make a Hallmark Christmas movie. I do have a Christmas song, but that came out a couple years ago. This song is called You and Me and Everything, and it is from the rom-com Us and Ourselves, which came out in October, that I also have a really yummy supporting part in. And the director-writer, he emailed me, he was like, hey, if I send you a track, could you make a song so we can put it in the movie? And I said, yeah, sure. I could. And I'd never done it, with a pre-written track. And that was a really fun, unique challenge to listen to what had been made already and come in and top line it with the melody and the lyrics.
Is it out? Can we listen to it on like Spotify or something?
There's a press link right now. It's a private press link. So, people who want like previews, which I can have sent to you, but it'll come out, I believe, the same week Wake Up comes out on Netflix, sometime in December. We're still sort of sorting that out.
Is there anything else that we missed that you want to talk about? Did we hit all of our marks? How did we do? That's the important question.
Let me get my review together for you, right? Your performance review. No, I would just say, it's been a great interview. I'm really excited about Wake Up Dead Man. I'm excited people have come to see it in theaters in the little window that we've had. And I think once it hits Netflix, there's going to be so many excited viewers. And it's really just like the honor of my life to be in these movies and be in Ryan's projects and get to work with my friends and also be creating my own work. And I'm very excited for everything that's coming. And listeners can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Kerry Frances Official. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for coming on. Don't be a stranger. Next Knives Out movie. You got to come back.
You got it.
All right. Thanks.